What's up, everyone? So we're interrupting the normal scheduled podcast that we normally would do because there's been some updates regarding the NBA, and we figured we'd go over a couple of things. It is now Monday night, 10:12 Eastern Standard Time, so it's pretty late. The podcast is a little bit late, but it'll be on tonight along with all of this new information that we got. So stay tuned. So I guess we'll get into it right now. Dame,
Yeah, man.
lots of drama going on the podcast or in the NBA.
In the
Sorry,
NBA.
lots of drama going on in the NBA, and we got to talk about it. We can't just drop this podcast and not be in with the news. So here we are. I guess. Do you want to start with the Ja Morant, or do you want to start with the playoffs? What do you want to start with?
Let's I think we should probably let's talk about the playoffs first, because I have a feeling that Ja Morant is gonna be a lengthy conversation.
All right, so we know that the Heat eliminated the Knicks, and we know that the Celtics eliminated the Sixers, and the Lakers eliminated the Warriors.
Right.
So now we're at the conference finals, and Denver
Nuggets
has been sitting there
Phoenix.
waiting. Yeah, they've been sitting there waiting for a little bit.
Right.
So I guess I want to start with the last series that just closed, which is the Sixers and the Celtics. And what are your thoughts on that one? Do you have anything that sticks out?
Yeah. Game 6, the last 2 minutes.
That should have been
that book was closed. It was like something just clicked with Tatum, and he hit 2 threes, and that's all it took to deflate Philly. Embiid and Harden are literally walking up the court like the game is already lost. Like they already threw in a towel, and morale was shot after 2 3-pointers hit. And then that was it. Tatum obviously continued to hit them, and they took the lead and extended the series, but that should have been over. And
in Philly,
without a doubt.
But then they go to Boston, and they totally shit the bed for Game 7.
Yeah, they never came back.
I got some stats and some.
Harden probably had the worst game of his career in the playoffs.
Yeah, following his best playoff performance probably ever. But I got some stuff here. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I was rooting for the Sixers, and I absolutely really do love Embiid. I love Maxey. I love the team. Harden, I think, is I think Harden has gotten a lot of unnecessary criticisms, but I'm going to get into that. So, but let's look at this. Embiid was the MVP this year, right? He averaged this year 33 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 turnovers. He shot 55% from the field and 33% from 3. He was the MVP. This is what he averaged this year in the playoffs. 23 points, 10 rebounds, 2.7 assists, 3.9 turnovers, a horrific assist to turnover ratio. He shot 44% from the field, and his 3-point percentage was at 18%. So he was about 10 points under what his average is. Now, usually when we talk about great players, right, it's mostly what they do in the playoffs that, in my opinion, that really separates good from great, right? Or from great from legends.
Stars to superstars.
Right. So that was bad. Then we all know that James Harden, and I've defended him a lot over the years, but he tends to fade in the playoffs. And he had some pretty horrible games. Then you have Doc Rivers, who hasn't had the best playoff runs either. Listen to this. Doc Rivers is 6-10 in Game 7s. He has the most Game 7 losses of any coach in the history of the NBA, and he's never won a Game 7 on the road. He's 17-33 on potential series clinching games. The last 5 conference finals games he's lost. So 5 out of the 7 that he's been involved in. And then he's 0-10 to get to the conference finals. So when you add Embiid's playoff problems, James Harden's playoff history, and Doc Rivers, it was destined that they were going to lose, right?
Well, the Doc Rivers is exactly this is the only reason I was rooting for the 76ers. I'm a Doc Rivers fan. You know, he's a former Knick. And you know, he's had it rough in the playoffs. And so I was like, man, if he could just make it to the finals, like, you know, that would be, because I don't see Miami beating Philly. So it was, once they get past the Celtics, I figured it was a clear ride to the finals, and he would be redeemed. Like, all of that shit would have been off of his back.
That's the key thought that I had. This is the redemption year for the Sixers, right? This is Embiid showing, I'm the MVP now. I've deserved this for the last 2 years. James Harden, you know what? I'm not a piece of shit. I really do care about winning. And Doc Rivers, yo, I can coach a championship team. Last time he did it was in Boston, with the Celtics, you know, Garnett and all them guys. But this was the redemption year, and shit. So that was disappointing. But hey, Tatum had a historic game. He broke Steph Curry's record that Steph Curry just set against the Sacramento Kings for the most points in a Game 7. So Tatum, I feel like that was more front running because they were already well in the lead. But still, kudos to Jason Tatum. That was pretty amazing. So now Celtics go to the finals, and they're going to be facing the Miami Heat.
Yeah.
Miami defeated the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of a little bit of old news at this point, but do you have any thoughts, you know, on that series?
Honestly, it just comes down to what Julius Randle said, I think, in Game 4. It just seemed like they wanted it more. You know, going into this series, the Knicks were the leading rebounders. The bench, they had the leading, you know, scoring bench. And in this series, it was the exact opposite. They were getting out rebound. The bench was getting outscored by a lot. You know, we quickly was down, which took some scoring off the bench, and then, you know, just nobody else was hitting shots at all. It was bad.
I think Julius Randle played his last game as a Knick. I think he will be traded this offseason. I think if they can get a pretty good replacement for him, somebody who can give them 18 points a game, couple of rebounds and assists, or even if they if they land a superstar, right?
Yeah.
I think the Knicks become really formidable, but you know, we'll see. I think I was thinking the brain in my brain was saying to me at the end of that Knicks game and the Heat was
they were Knicks, in every game.
Yeah,
as bad as they were playing.
My thought was the Knicks felt like they overachieved and they probably were satisfied with where they were, whereas the Heat were like, no, we underachieved this year, but our record is nowhere near indicative as to how good we are, and they tried harder.
And they've been saying that all year.
And they were right.
And, you know, to some degree, I think I felt the same way at the end of the series, because going into it, you know, before the playoffs even started, I told you, Knicks second round, we're a second round team. A couple years ago, they made it. I was like, we're a first round team. We made first round, we're going to get bounced. This year, I felt they were a little better. It was second round team. And, you know, at that point, we were thinking they would be facing Milwaukee in the second round, and no way would they get past them. But once Miami beat them, then, you know, you got started seeing a little hopeful and you know, thinking that they could extend it a little further. But at the end of the day, they are who they are.
If they would have gotten past the Heat, of course, anything happens once you're in the conference finals, right? But you would have definitely said, okay, they hit the ceiling, right? At least that's what I would have thought. Like, they're not going past this point. But
I think I wouldn't have wanted to play Philly, but I think they could beat the Celtics in a series.
I don't think so. But
in regular season, they would. I know it's different in the playoffs, but
Celtics, I think they got enough experience to win the whole thing. I don't think they will, but I think they can. I never felt that way about the Knicks, but okay, so that's East Coast, West Coast. I guess we'll start with the Denver and the Phoenix real quick. Again, a little bit old news, but I thought Kevin Durant and Booker, unfortunately, I think they were probably a little bit spent, a little bit worn out. The playoffs, a lot of people don't talk about this, but it's really an endurance match.
Yeah.
It's how if your team is, and I mean the whole team, if it's not that great, then your superstars carry a much bigger load. And the other team can double team, triple team, can put a lot more pressure on those superstars, knowing that the supporting cast, and I hate that term, but the rest of the teammates may not deliver as much. So I think by that time, Kevin Durant and Booker were probably a little bit done.
It's not even harder when they've traded away the whole bench.
Right. It's not an excuse because this was a team that was favored by a lot of people. Kevin Durant has consistently, in my mind, and I've said this about him before, he's a hired gun. He's he's a marksman that you add to the team, but he's not a team leader. I don't think he's as great as a lot of people have said. The idea that he's the best player in the league, I never thought he was. That's my opinion. I think Booker was clearly the best player on the Suns this playoff run and this year. And yeah, I just don't put Kevin Durant in that kind of space that a lot of people do. Great player when he's surrounded by great players. Also when he's not.
Cut it out. I think looking at the Phoenix team, I think set the bar for them based on a team that had a whole season to play together. They didn't do training camp together. It's a mid-season acquisition and then an injury. They didn't have time to play together, and then they had injuries in the playoffs. So realistically, and then they don't have any, the bench. They had no bench really. That team was a dud, to be honest with you. I think because of the names and because of their capability, I think we boosted their potential falsely.
Not me, but I'm just saying, I didn't think they were going to do much of anything. I thought they were going to lose to the Clippers. Like, I didn't have that kind of faith in them, but I'm not going to let you get away with this, bro. Can we put some respect on Jokic and his skills and his name? Can we put some respect on that dude?
I don't know what you're expecting to get out of me.
Yo, come on, man.
I don't like him, bro. I just don't like him.
I know you don't like him, but let's put some respect on his name. You know what I'm saying, man? Jokic.
He's good.
He's more than good, bro. He's more than good. I don't know how a fucker that slow.
When I watch him play,
I don't know how he does it.
Because there's no defense in the NBA anymore.
Stop, man. Just stop. You know that ain't it, man. The guy is supremely skilled.
Okay.
You watched some of those games, right? Tell me you watched them like fully.
I did. It was painful.
Did you not at any point, even the game that they lost, Denver, when he scored 50 points or whatever?
I watched that one.
I was watching that and I was like, they can't stop him.
Yeah,
they can't stop him. He made Aiden look like a kid playing in high school.
I don't understand it. Because watching it, I don't see anything ultraly impressive. But the ball just keeps going in. I don't understand it.
With these passes, and he's
a good passer. He's a good passer.
I feel like the same thing happened to Tim Duncan, where Tim Duncan would have 35 points,
yeah.
12 rebounds, 8 assists, 4 blocks, and it looked like he didn't do anything.
But I think that was more because of Duncan's demeanor. I think, and the fundamentals, the off the glass, and he
his bank shot was
the big
but
fundamental.
Similarly, I feel like there's just no sizzle to that steak, but the steak is good. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what
I enjoyed watching Duncan much more than I don't know what it. I mean, I can't. There's not something I can point out and say like. I just him. He rubs me the wrong way. Just him, right? But as far as his game goes, I don't understand. I don't see it.
Put some respect on that guy's name. So anyway, now moving on, we got Golden State versus the Lakers.
Yeah.
Ooh, what a heartbreaker for me. So let me just. I feel like this was more of an issue about the Warriors than it was the Lakers winning.
Seemed like they had some chemistry issues.
So, start of the season, Draymond Green punches Jordan Poole, knocks him out. That film gets leaked. Then Steph Curry was out a bunch of games because of his shoulder. Then you had young players beefing with Steve Kerr about their minutes. Jordan Poole just not playing up to the standard after that. Draymond Green many times not doing it. And then Wiggs was out for a while, some family matter issue. So they're 11-30 or whatever on the road, atrocious on the road. And then they go into the playoffs. They get taken to a game 7. Steph has to have a meeting with the team right before game 6 to tell them, or right after game 6, like, you need the guys to be on board because, we can do this. And he drops 50 plus points in that game 7. And that was it for them. I feel like the energy was gone. They maxed out. And I think they were a little bit too small. Steph Curry couldn't do it by himself. No superstar can. And nobody could hit shots, so they can sell out, double team, triple team Steph whenever. He had to become the primary ball handler.
Klay was having a horrible game.
And Klay, I don't know what happened with Klay.
And damn, he ain't stopped trying.
No, and the thing is, Kerr refused to put in Moody. Refused to put in Kuminga. Refused. Didn't play Lamb. And those were arguably, two guys that could have helped them, as far as size is concerned or athleticism, at least on the defensive end. But he wouldn't do it because, of course, you have Klay. You're not going to sit Klay down. But I thought at some point, and at least in game 7, they should have sat Klay down. He wasn't giving them the production they needed. It's not an overall reflection on him, but hey, let's try something new. This is game 7. Didn't do it. What do you think is going to happen with them next year?
I think they're all back. I think Poole is out of there.
I would agree. I think they're going to trade Poole, maybe trade someone else, try to get another big name in there and give it a run. That's what I think is going to happen.
Draymond Green's going to take a pay cut. He's going to come back.
Klay already said that he's willing to take a pay cut. So, after his performance or whatever, I think he realizes, because initially he said that he wants a max deal, an extension. And I think he realizes that he's not going to get it. And if he wants to finish his career in Golden State, he has to free that up so they can afford to get somebody else in there. So he'll take a pay cut. So will Draymond. They'll get rid of Poole. That's a huge contract there, but Poole will do great on another team.
Yeah.
And I think they remain a threat next year. Now, the Lakers.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Ooh. Goes to Portland.
Is that what you think?
In a trade?
Is that what you think? You think Poole goes to Portland for Dame? That's wild. I wouldn't want that. Dame and Steph fill the same kind of thing. How do you do that? What do you put both of them on the court at the same time with
Of
Clay.
course. Yeah.
They need size.
They wouldn't need size then. They would force teams to go small because you got to guard you can't double anybody.
I don't know if I like that, but I would love to see what that would look like. I don't know if I like that, but that would be the most wildest shit ever.
So there's rumors, of course, that Dame might end up with the Knicks. If he doesn't, I would love to see him in Golden State.
It would be much smarter for him to go to the Knicks. I would say that, but if he went to Golden State and he was healthy and shooting like he shoots, I don't know what the hell that looks like. That would be almost silly to watch.
Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah, I don't even know how the fuck that would look. What that would look like, but yeah. So now I just want to comment on the Lakers. So LeBron James, he had a good series. He had a really good series. He knew how to pick and choose his spots. And I feel like Draymond's friendship with him compromised that a little bit because he wasn't antagonizing LeBron at all. They were almost a little too buddy. But LeBron really was able to pick and choose his spots, reserve some energy. But I think the real key to that series was Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
They couldn't drive in at all. That guy, if he wasn't swatting shots, he was making them take shots that looked like ridiculous because they were too scared to really drive.
He should be the key to every series. He just unreliable because he's inconsistent.
Yep, and he doesn't really have the energy to sustain that for a long time. I'm surprised that him and LeBron have gotten this far. But
as great as he is, I don't know if I would want to. I would trade him, honestly.
Yeah, because he's unreliable. But he helped get him a chip in the bubble, if you want to count that. And they're in the conference finals now. Who knows what's going to happen at this point?
So my son's a Heat fan, and he's jockeying for the bubble rematch.
See, I feel like if it's Heat and Lakers, I feel like Lakers win that. I think the Heat is a better team, but I feel like the Lakers win that.
I think the Lakers win it if AD is AD for 4 games.
Well, Adebayo, if he could still play like Adebayo, he can watch some of the stuff AD does.
If Adebayo played like he played in that last game against the Knicks,
it's going to be interesting. Yeah.
Boy.
But AD is definitely the key. And I think that's what helped get LA over that is
there's no question. No question.
Because otherwise Kevon Looney would have they had to limit his play. He was also sick too. Mm. And I think Wiggs was starting to become Wiggs again, because of the time off playing. He really wasn't, where he was last year.
Yeah.
I hope that they keep Andrew Wiggins and Gary Payton and DiVincenzo and Looney. I want them with the core. And then everyone else, I don't care what they do with them.
Yeah. That's basically the whole team.
Yeah. But they can get rid of Lamb. They can get rid of Kuminga. They can get rid of Moody. They can get rid of, they got some players they can move. Obviously, Jordan Poole. And they can get a lot for those guys.
Yeah.
Real quick, who's going to win? Is it going to be the Los Angeles Lakers or the Denver Nuggets? In your estimation?
Nuggets.
I think the Nuggets are going to win too. But I do think it's going to be a fun
series.
To
say that too, so.
Because you put a respect on Jokic's name. That's what you're doing, man. All right, finally. And Murray. Like, Murray is,
Murray's
a
beast. Murray's a beast.
All right, so I think we covered playoffs. I think that's everything.
I think coaching. I think we need to. Monty got fired.
Yeah, I heard that. What team is interested? He is interested in picking him. The Bucks.
No,
because they fired their coach. So I think the Bucks.
Mark Jackson.
No. Just before we got on the podcast, There's interest in Monty for the Bucks.
Well, anybody should have interest in Monty if they're hiring for a coach, but
that kind of bumps Mark Jackson out of the picture a little bit.
I don't know, but I was just happy that Mark Jackson got an interview.
Yeah,
because he's been blackballed for a while. So just the fact that he's got an interview,
and his commentary with the Van Gundys suck ass. So please go back to coaching, bro. Like I can't.
I like the two of them together.
I can't stand either one of them. Like they annoy me. They're fucking fangirls. Like I can't stand them. Anyway, yeah, I'm hoping that both Mark Jackson and Monty, get the nod somewhere. It would be nice to see them both. I don't think Monty should have got fired.
I don't either.
That was nonsense.
I think the GM should have got fired. That's who should have got fired.
Well, you're going to do whatever you can to get Kevin Durant. So, most teams will trade for LeBron James, Steph Curry, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Kevin Durant. You're going to trade anyone and everyone they ask for to get those guys. Like it's just what it is.
But how often does that work out?
It never does.
Somebody got to learn at some point.
It's not about winning at that point. It's about what the market value becomes for your team. When
ticket sales and all that other bullshit. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's always going to supersede winning.
It ain't about the wins and losses. It's about the green and the red.
Right. It's about asses in the seat and viewers on that television.
So
yeah. So
and let's Doc's get into probably gonna get fired.
Oh, Doc is gone. I can't imagine. I can't imagine even getting past this week without hearing Doc Rivers got fired.
In the post game, somebody asked him, does he plan on coaching the team next year? That's such a
the nerve, right?
Why? Doc says, I got 2 years left. What else is he supposed to say? Like, why you ask some questions like that?
Look, if Doc Rivers gets fired, he could always get a job, as a jazz radio station host. Smooth sounds of Doc Rivers. I can't even do his voice. I would love to be able to talk like that. Imagine what he sounds like whispering sweet nothings to his wife.
He always sounds like he needs a throat lozenge.
He probably does. But anyway.